All right, so HIMSS is in a couple weeks, which is an annual health tech conference I attend in Las Vegas. So because of that, I decided to do this week's episode on the vagus nerve. A little homonym fun, they're spelled differently. But the other reason I chose to do this episode on the vagus nerve is because I see a lot of wellness referencing this specific nerve, and it supposedly controls everything from anxiety to digestion to inflammation. And like most of the wellness claims I see online, it's not totally wrong, maybe just a little overstated. But I wanted to review these claims one by one because I think breathing exercises, ice baths, every kind of health hack seems to have claims to benefit the vagus nerve. So I'm not saying that these don't help, but I want to see what the vagus nerve actually does and then kind of analyze it against some of these common wellness claims that I see online. Welcome to Medicine Made Simple. All right, so before I talk about the claims, I want to be clear on what the vagus nerve actually is. So the vagus nerve is a cranial nerve. So it's called a cranial nerve because it comes directly from the brain rather than the spinal cord. So there's 12 nerves that originate from the brain that are the 12 cranial nerves. They're numbered 1 through 12, and they each have very specific functions from vision, eye movement, facial sensation, hearing, swallowing, stuff like that. So we use Roman numerals to represent them. So sometimes you'll see the vagus nerve represented by the Roman numeral 10, which is an X. In med school, we had to memorize all 12 in order and even what type they are, like sensory or motor or both. So we had some interesting mnemonics. I'm not going to go through them here. Maybe some of them are inappropriate. But so the vagus nerve is cranial nerve number 10. It comes out of the brain. And instead of staying in the head and neck like a lot of cranial nerves, it's the longest nerve in your body. It travels down your body. So it innervates your heart, your lungs, most of your GI tract. So it's really, your GI from your esophagus to some of your intestines. So I think I want to start with kind of the first big misconception that a lot of these claims are around. The vagus nerve isn't primarily a calming nerve or anything. Kind of the way I want to look at it is it's more of a reporting nerve. So 80% of what your vagus nerve does is sending information from the body to the brain. So it reports to your brain how full your stomach is, how fast your heart is beating, what's happening in your lungs, and signals of inflammation. So what the brain does then, it looks at all that information and decides what to do next. So I'd say in this way, the vagus nerve isn't really calming you down. It's more like a dashboard in your car. So when you look at the speedometer and you're going too fast, it doesn't slow you down. It lets you know how fast you're going. Same thing with like engine temp or something, right? You have that little flag thing, a monitor. So it doesn't control the engine temperature. It just shows you it's how hot it is, right? So your vagus nerve just shows the driver, which is like your brain, what's going on, and then your brain acts on it, which sometimes it'll send it back down the vagus nerve. But again, like the decision is being made after seeing the dashboard, not from the dashboard itself. So that's why I feel like calling the vagus nerve a calming nerve sounds right, but I'd say it's more of like the reporter or the speedometer on your dashboard rather than the driver who's actually going to be like, we're going too fast, we got to brake, or the engine's too hot, we got to cool it down, so. All right, so I'm going to go talk about the fight or flight and rest and digest kind of examples where I think a lot of kind of the things I see are your body's stuck in fight or flight mode, and you have to hack your vagus nerve or stimulate your vagus nerve in order to fix this. So your body doesn't decide if you're stressed or calm based on one thing. It's constantly pulling information from multiple systems, your eyes, ears, balance, touch, organs, etc. So if you're walking through the jungle and you see a jaguar ahead, before you consciously think about anything, your heart rate will jump, your breathing speeds up, your muscles tense, get ready to run, kind of your digestion will pause because it's diverting energy. So your vagus nerve isn't like failing. That's a true fight or flight moment, right? So your body used vision, one of the strongest safety signals we have, and was like, this isn't safe. So in the opposite, when you're in a quiet room, lights are soft, your breathing slows, there's some calm music or something. So when your body gets those signals to say you're okay, that's like the calming point there. So the calm doesn't come because your vagus nerve was stimulated. It's really that your brain added up all the sensory information and decided whether it's safe. Of course, your vagus nerve helped carry part of that message to the brain, but it's not making that decision by itself. It's not doing it all by itself. It is like a great reporting pathway or communication pathway, but I just wanted to make that clear. It sounds like I'm nitpicking, but I'm really not, I think. All right, so this is going to lead me into the ice baths and cold plunges. So I think this one's interesting. People say that cold plunges calm you by activating the vagus nerve. So I think the sequence that I see on this is getting into the ice water is a stress. So your heart rate jumps, your breathing gets fast and shallow. That's a cold shock response. It's very well documented. And the calm comes after. So it's like after that initial shock, especially once you get your breathing under control, your nervous system rebounds, you'll see your heart rate settle, breathing slows down, and things just feel more calm. So I think my favorite analogy for this is it's like getting into a cold pool. If you ease it slowly, it kind of sucks the whole time while you're getting in the pool. Your body keeps reacting over and over each time you go like a little bit lower and lower into the pool. You're like, ah. But if you just jump into a cold pool, you get that intense shock. But then your body kind of adjusts faster than getting in slowly. So that, I think it's the same idea with cold plunges. The initial hit is that stress. But once your breathing settles, your nervous system recalibrates. So the calm isn't really, to me, because the cold is soothing. It's because your body is finished responding to the stress. Now, as far as what health benefits it has, I know that athletes use these ice baths after, intense working out, or like LeBron does it after a basketball game. He's 41 now, so he definitely needs it something. But yeah, these kind of things are still, I think, good for you. But I wouldn't say that it's fully a vagus nerve thing. It's, again, like a full body thing. All right, so I'm going to do humming and chanting and some of the sound bath and things like that. So humming and chanting and these things get described as activating the vagus nerve. It's not totally inaccurate because the vagus nerve is involved. Some of the muscles involved are connected branches of the vagus nerve. It's part of the pathway, and it does take some of these signals to the brain. But really, what's doing this is it's, again, part of those signals of safety, right? When you hum or chant, your breathing slows, your exhales get longer, you have throat and chest vibrations. But this calming effect isn't purely from vibrating or activating a nerve. It's the nerve, of course, is carrying these signals from your breathing and all these things, giving these signals to your brain that you're calm, there's nothing urgent happening right now. So really, that's why for thousands of years across cultures and traditions all over the world, before anyone knew what the vagus nerve was, these things have been used for calming and other reasons. So I'd say humming, chanting, and all these things, they are helpful, but I wouldn't, again, give all the credit to the vagus nerve. All right, so another one that I see the vagus nerve being talked about is it controls inflammation in the body. I've heard that from my wife as well. Vagus nerve activation, you can control inflammation. So I think I'm going to try an analogy. Let's see if I need breadcrumbs to get back to inflammation. But so inflammation is kind of like a fire alarm going off in the building. So the fire is the real problem, whether it's an infection, injury, or tissue damage, whatever. The alarm would be inflammation, which is heat, swelling, etc. So the immune system runs the alarm system, and the automatic sprinklers are part of the immune response. So the vagus nerve doesn't start the fire and it doesn't put it out. And just as a side note too, I said in an earlier video on inflammation that the short-term inflammation is actually good. It's helpful. It's kind of your body working as intended. So it's the chronic inflammation, the long-term inflammation that's bad. So, if the vagus nerve is involved in this analogy, it's kind of like if the sprinkler stayed on too long after the fire is mostly out. The building would get flooded, walls get damaged, things turn into a mess. So that's kind of what happens with chronic inflammation. It starts hurting healthy tissues. So the vagus nerve helps to tell the system like how the firefighting response is going. So calming the nervous system can help quiet this unnecessary noise, but it doesn't really override a real emergency. I might have gone too far with this analogy. So I'm trying to say that the vagus nerve is involved in this, but you can't really like hum or breathe your way out of an infection. So the vagus nerve, I'd say, is more of like a fine-tuning mechanism in this inflammation example, it's not a firefighter, but it does have some effect here, but say it's not as pronounced as it's maybe made out to be online. So yeah, it's definitely part of it, but it's not a large part. All right, so I'm going to end with a little big picture again. I think a lot of the vagus nerve claims are relevant. The vagus nerve obviously is a real thing. It's important, and it is involved in how your body responds to stress. But I just want to make it clear that it's not like a magic nerve. It doesn't control everything by itself. It doesn't flip you from one state to another. It isn't something you can hack with like single tricks. And I think the things that people are crediting to the vagus nerve work because of how the entire nervous system is behaving, and not because we're like plucking a specific wire. So I'd say vagus nerve is part of your nervous system. It's one of the 12 cranial nerves. It's a very important nerve. It's something that does help you feel calmer, more regulated. I just want to understand kind of why it's helping and what it really does, and not to let kind of normal physiology turn into like magic or mystery or something. So yeah, hopefully this was useful.